good evening and welcome to this special edition that looks at the report that has been handed over to the government on the findings of the Janneh Commission delivered on Friday to the President of the Republic, President Adama Barrow, to look at the issues surrounding this revelation. We have in the United States of America joining us online, Pasamba Jao. Pasamba, you're with us. Hello and welcome.
Hello, sir. Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you very much. Pleasure to hear from you. And also in the studio, I have with me the BBC's Africa correspondent, Frederick Tenden. Frederick, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Malik, and happy to be here.
And of course, a concerned citizen, Daba Malik.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Right.
And it's always a pleasure to be back on Star FM.
Well, gentlemen, this thing broke out yesterday. But government officials are fuming. Fuming because before the commission report was out, journalists had it. We've been seeing government documents leaking several times prior to this one. And not that this one is a secret document, but those other documents too are government properties. And they should just come out of the blues like that. Are we having people undermining the present government, or do we have factions in government, each and every one of them playing your part? Then let me throw that first to you.
Thank you, Malik. I think that you have both of those aspects you've mentioned. People who might not be in line with the government way of doing things or handling public affairs, who might want to know exactly what's going on, who might be tempted to be using any kind of means available to get in touch of or to get hold of whatsoever can help them get hold of information. And you also have other people who are in line with the government, who might be eager to know what the government's decisions are to defend. But I think the issue goes beyond this. Leakage of information is current in our era. This is a period where in the world people are thirsty of information. The smallest kid in a primary school has a mobile phone, can browse on Facebook, can see what people are talking about in his country, what is happening, and may want to know exactly what is going on, what is right and what is not right, what is true from what is false. So people are hungry about information. And governments that are aware of this trend, because nobody can stop it as we go, nobody can stop that trend. Governments that are aware of it, often what they do, you might know as an experienced journalist what they do, when you have a report like that one that is meant for public consumption, there is nothing, absolutely nothing like confidential information there, because the president hinted that the report will be public, entirely public, and that the recommendations will be enforced without favor and fear. So if you have an information like that or a report like what governments do, often they call some credible and serious media houses and say, this is the report, prepare yourself so you know exactly what you're going to talk about tomorrow when it comes. But it's under embargo. And on the very day of the publication, it comes out. But when you have a government that is composed of people who are molded with a 22-year shape of thinking, of confining information, of hoarding information, they don't understand actually what happens. Actually, there's a contradiction. You say, okay, this report is for public consumption. You hide information, even though if it is before a day before that, I see no problem, and this is going to continue. So, as journalists, we celebrate. We are happy that people can fetch out hidden information, and this is a signal to this government that what has happened over the past 22 years has passed. So they better work on transparency. They better repeal those bad laws that prevent journalists from getting access to information, because people will every day get more and more hungry about what their government is doing in handling public affairs.
Pastor Majau, you are out there in the
Yes, sir.
USA. I'm sure you're following us here. We're talking about leaked documents. It is not a strange thing. In America, you have whistleblowers. Here in the Gambia, we do
Yes.
not have whistleblowers. But now we are having the physical document being taken out of the custody of government and given away to parties that have interest in it. What is the scenario in the United States? Looks like we're not getting past Samba Jao and in a moment to respond to that. But again, Malik, let me come to you by the time we fix the audio from Pasamba. Yes, you're not surprised that this document leaked.
No, I'm not surprised because for me, I'll take it in two perspectives. And one that is that Gambian journalists have moved to another level. Because before, what used to happen is like journalists would sit down and then when things happen already that the public is aware, then that's the time they report it. That's one. Two, or they will just go and copy and paste. But I think journalism should go beyond that because it's not every journalist should focus more on news writing and news reporting, but we should also have investigative journalists, journalists who can go extra mile to fetch documents that, government probably is not yet ready for public consumption because the information that are pertained in that particular document is of public interest. And a lot of Gambians were in a haste to know what the Janneh Commission report was all about and what the government white paper was going to say. So for me, the way I see it is like the journalist who leaked the document, I think he has done a very good job, by at least proving to
Well,
government.
he got it from somebody.
Yeah, but also that's the second part that I was going to come to. The second part that I was going to come to is for government to put in place systems that would be able to, at least minimize the leakage of government classified documents before they are yet put out there in public. And of recent, we have seen so many, government informations or let me say memos that are being leaked to the public. Who are leaking them? It's another question. But I think it's important also that those people in public office they need to understand the risks that they are taking by releasing some of these documents to journalists or to private individuals because when you swear to a code of secrecy in office, you have to respect that. In as much as we also need to, I don't know how we're going to balance these two because the public official has already sworn to a code of conduct that he was going to be abide by code of secrecy, but the journalists also and the citizens wants to know what their government is doing behind doors. You understand. So for me, I think what is more important, I will just allude to what my brother Frederick said. Government should at least come up with that bill that everybody needs, like every citizen, not only journalists, but me as a concerned citizen, if I want to know anything about a particular project or a particular information, then I can walk to that ministry, even if I'm going to pay for a fee. I think, the right to information bill should be, put to parliament and then let parliamentarians vote on this, and then so that when citizens need certain information, they can just walk to that particular office, even if it's going to come with a cost. I think that is important, and that is going to minimize all these things that are happening. But I think it's a plus. It shows that like our journalists are moving to another step, and that also will put public officials in a position that they will be doing the right thing. Because if you don't, if you do the right thing, you have nothing to hide. So anytime a journalist knocks at your door and requests for an information, you will be able to deliver. But if you have something that you are hiding under your cupboard, it will be very difficult for you to face journalists or for you to give some of these documents to journalists. So I think we need to balance the two, and both the journalists and the public officials, the most important thing is they both serving the population who needs to be fed with the right and correct information. So for me, the way I see this whole thing is it's a plus for Gambia's democracy, it's a plus for Gambian journalism, and I don't think the journalists who leaked it should be held accountable for it. And I hope also, even when government wants to find out who leaked the document, the journalist is able to stand his ground and not to release his source for the document.
Not making any allegation here, but if that document should leak, that document is supposed to have come from the Ministry of Justice, because that's where the white paper emanated from. That was where it was tabled in cabinet, and that gave rise to the report being put in an envelope, shall I say, and then opened yesterday, Friday morning. Frederick, you saw the white paper. You read the white paper in its entirety. Could you guide us through?
Well, obviously, a right paper per se is normally a kind of a hint about a government position with regards to a particular issue that can equally give a foresight about what may come after as legislation or whatsoever. So we saw in the white paper that is an account, a summary account of some main cases that have been treated by the commission, with recommendations made by the commission, but the decisions taken by the Ministry of Justice on behalf of the state. So some of them you have one of the most actually waited for was that of Yaya Jammeh, Sol Baji, yes, Sol Baji, Aissatou Ndiaye Sedi, Mohamed Bazi, Gatas, all those Tony Gatas,
the 14, the core 14,
the core 17, I think. Those are the people that were mainly Zainab, the first lady.
The first lady.
Yes. So each of them, the commission decided, the white paper decided that almost all recommendations would be enforced. We equally learned from the white paper, essentially, some of the tough measures that have been taken about some people found wanting, the likes of Sabali, Njoguba, yes,
Sirawali
Ndao.
Surprised that
Koli
came out of it.
Exactly.
Koli.
Exactly.
Yes. Former governor of the bank. Yes.
My friend and
Graham as well.
Yeah, my friend and colleague and magistrate Malafi Jalu equally. So you have some people whose name have
who we never thought of will have appeared.
No, not at all.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and at first glance, that's what you see, but you also ask yourself about certain questions, because all Gambians were able to witness the hearings. They were live on television. They're still on YouTube, so everybody could see and have heard who passed. And a lot of questions have raised. I think we will discuss about that some minutes later.
Malik, let me come back to you. The commission, in its formation, I mean, should certain people have been members of this commission? If I may take you back, in 2011, there was a commission on tax evasion, and some members of that commission were indicted in that commission. Do you think that those members of the commission should have been in that commission in the first place?
Yeah, for me personally, my take is like, after 2016, when this government came in, I think everything that they were supposed to do was meant to be a fresh start, a clean seat, sort of. And that's why I had issues with the government, but we all understood what actually happened, because a lot of noise was made on certain appointments, but still, because it was in the early stage, so people still thought like we should give them time. But, for me, my take is, when you're constructing a house, the foundation is the most important thing, because if you miss the foundation, you end up missing everything else. So from the onset, I think the commission, was it necessary? It was definitely necessary, and I think it was important that it was set up. But looking at the people who consist of the commission, I think I don't have the president has the executive power to appoint people. I don't know what criteria he used and his government to gauge or appoint some of these people. But like you said, for me, the way I see it is like, if somebody is indicted for tax evasion, should the person sit in a commission that is looking at corruption or malpractices of subsequent the government that was in place? I think there is usually a conflict of interest. One, two, the most fundamental thing, when a person is is indicted for tax evasion. We all know tax evasion is a serious crime. It's Gambia's economy or our budget depends a lot on tax. So if somebody evades tax, does the person have the credibility and the reputation to sit in a commission that is going to talk about corruption? For me personally, I don't think so. Probably if I was the president and I had the powers to nominate, I would not nominate anybody that has a previous record. Whether they're guilty of it or they're not guilty of it, it's another question. But that is for the judiciary to decide, not me. But I think once somebody is mentioned on a particular issue like that, I don't think the person should be allowed to sit in a commission like that. Not only in commission, but these are people that probably when government is appointing, these are some of the things that they need to look up to, because we all knew what went through the past 22 years. And when 2016 came about, a lot of Gambians expected hope. We expected change, like Halifa would say, and a lot of people would not agree with him. System change, I think, was important. And to show Gambians and build our confidence that we were on for system change, I think a lot of things that were done from the start was done wrongly. And that is what is manifesting today, And I hope there's still time that they can go back and fix some of these mistakes that were made from the beginning. But my take is, I don't think they should have been part of the commission. Absolutely.
Do we see any disparity in the way that they report indicted some of the members? For example, some people went scot-free. Some went absolutely scot-free. Some people had, there were severe indictments on some people who did lesser crimes, and there were other people who got less indictment for more serious crimes. Is that very visible to you, as it is visible to me?
Oh, sure. It was very visible.
Absolutely.
A lot of Gambians were particularly shocked to learn about the case, for example, of Alhaji Sise, who is the chief of protocol. The report clearly indicates, it explains how Alhaji was involved in a scheme in which money was stolen from Taiwanese grant. A bank account was opened, and Alhaji was a signatory on behalf of the First Lady of the Gambia, then the then First Lady, Janneh. And Alhaji would withdraw a lot of money just out of the blue from Yaya Jammeh's orders and send it to America and whatsoever. And the commission clearly states that these are particulars of money stealing, aiding and abetting, money laundering and whatsoever. It's clearly stated there. And on several occasions, a lot of things like that have appeared against Alhaji Sise. But if you read the white paper, he's gone through it. The space that has been given in explaining why Alhaji could not be indicted is far bigger than whatsoever you can have. That's surprising. Why? Is it because Alhaji is now the chief of protocol to Yaya Jammeh? That's nonsense.
To President Barrow.
This is the problem. And for Mambo Njai, it was just a skeletal thing. And to say, okay, since the commission didn't go as far as saying clearly what to be done with Mambo, we prefer not to say anything. We just maybe just give him a warning. Is that good for the Gambia?
What is a warning? Warning for what?
I think they can best explain. It is so short and so skeletally written in the white paper that you wonder what they want to say. So Gambians who went through those few lines were shocked, like me. Were asking questions about how genuine this government was about a particular set of people who are working, aiding Jammeh, doing all those economic crimes, and who are now working closely with Adama Barrow. And the other thing a lot of people ask, was Barrow sincere when Barrow said we will apply to the core all recommendations that will be sent to us by the commission without fear or favor. We've actually seen that it wasn't the case. So I was, in fact, yesterday very disappointed with two ministers of the state clearly standing and saying the commissions, the government applied to the fullest the recommendations made by the commission. So this is definitely it's an abuse on the Gambian, the average Gambian.
I am yet to digest. You understand? For me, crime is just a crime. You know, there is no small crime, especially when it comes to, you know, corruption, money laundering. You know, these are not small crimes. These are even international crimes that, you know, globally the world is trying to fight. So for me, it beats my imagination, and that is why government will have a lot of questions to be asked by citizens, and I think they need to come more clearer and explain to the citizenry why some of the decisions that they've taken, because I think yesterday's press conference to me have not given any explanation that is clear to my understanding. And two, even the white paper is not clear, because some of the explanations they are giving to me is biased. Because if you look at, like he said, Elijah's case, I can tell you the person who wrote that clause for them, it's an experienced lawyer who knows the legal implications and everything. You understand? It was not done by just an ordinary person who understands the English language. No, this was done by a lawyer who probably had years of experience and understood, you know, the magnitude of the crime and all these stuffs. But for me, to put it into context, I have seen how would I use the word, like like animal farm sort of, or okay. Was I surprised with Sabalis? No, I'm not surprised, because I think it could be and I can put it into context in so many ways. He's a young guy, very smart, very intelligent, very eloquent, and you know, he's a trained economist. And to tell you the truth, you know, a lot of young people look up to him, and he has that command of, you know, talking to young people. Whether he has a political ambition, I cannot tell. You understand? Or maybe some would see him as a threat within the civil service, that, you know, he has the qualification, you know, he has papers, he has experience. Probably he has done some mistakes in the past, and that is, you know, anybody who have worked with Janneh and been close to Janneh like Sabali was, you would have definitely be a complicit to Janneh's economic crimes. That is absolutely clear. So for me, my take is, was the commission necessary? Yes, of course it was necessary. Should they punish people for crimes committed? Yes, I believe so. But in a situation that you cannot punish everybody, I think the best that government should have done was to tell Gambians, yes, we have spent this amount of money on the commission, and now that the commission report has come out, so we are moving forward in terms of healing, in our healing process and reconciliation. We know, like, these are the things that happen, and we'll make it public for people to know, for future references. But we are not taking any action, because looking at the situation of our country, we want to reconcile and bring everybody together. That could have been at least a better explanation for me to accept as a Gambian than telling me, Alaji, okay, you look at Alaji's work, okay, what surprises, another thing that beats me up was, nowhere in the commission that they said that SNJ said he went to the bank to pick money for Janneh. You understand? She was just a signatory to a particular account or some accounts. And looking at her contribution to towards all these things is not that huge.
Very minimal.
You understand? So if you can ban that person for 5 years, I see no reason why the commission's recommendation that Alaji should be fired isn't done. Because I don't think Alaji is I respect his experience. I know, like, he has been doing this for so many years. But the thing is, if they want to treat everybody equally, they must follow the due process, and that was to follow the recommendations of the commission to the latter, and then that's it. Put it to dust, because a few months ago the president has told this to Gambians. We are going to follow the recommendations of the commission to the fullest, and there was no going to be cherry picking within people. But what we saw yesterday was like they sat down as a team, and probably maybe Alaji had the opportunity because he's close to the president, and not only he has the opportunity to talk to the president probably, which these other guys don't have. Mambre also could be put in the same box that, you know, he can sit down with the president and then explain to him that certain things that probably these other people don't have the opportunity to do. But for me, I don't think that's a justification. The best that Barrow could have done was to follow the recommendations of the commission to the fullest. If that is not possible, the best thing was to tell Gambians, for the sake of national reconciliation and moving forward and opening a new page in our history, these are the crimes that have been committed, and it was committed by these people, Mr. X, Y, Z, but we are going ahead and then putting everything behind us. I think that would have been a more understandable or a more reasonable justification for not wanting to prosecute or not wanting to punish everybody.
And Malik,
Yes,
excuse me,
yeah.
there's something I want to hear for our viewers to understand clearly what is at stake here. Take the case of that young man Dabo, who was arrested for buying a stolen TV. He was taken to police. After being released a few days later, he died, which sparked the wave of demonstration we had from the youths in this country. So the police went on the base that this boy bought a stolen TV. Now,
which is less than 30,000 probably.
we now have somebody who is a signatory to an account of stolen money from the government of Taiwan to the Gambia, a grant given to the Gambia. We're talking about $2 million US, and another amount of $1 million. The guy is a signatory, and he will go and withdraw and give it to those who stole that money, and he's going scot-free. The commission said sack him. The government decided the guy should go scot-free. What is the explanation? Because the Public Service Commission did not determine clearly what is the scope of his mission as chief of protocol, what he should do or what he should not do. Probably he was doing it in the scope of his job. This is a very halambic explanation. It doesn't make any sense. It is light. And the other thing we should retain equally from this white paper and the press conference yesterday, what the sanctions we've heard about, they are all civil and administrative sanctions. They are hinting us that probably we might not have criminal sanctions. And in the white paper, you have clearly some lines that have been explained that this is a criminal act, this is a criminal offense. Now, in the name of reconciliation, should we always close our eyes to certain dangerous facts that have been committed? What signal are we giving to our public officials actually in service? Are we telling them, no problem, don't worry, you steal, after you keep all your money in America or whatsoever, we don't care, we will just say, okay, next time we will do this and that, and then we blame you, people talk about it, and there it is, and then the next time you go to America, enjoy your money and you sit down. Nothing will happen to you. This is clearly what is at stake. So Gambians are here, they should listen to this and pay attention to what is happening.
The onus is on the president to take the action, to address or to bring into fruition what the commission is recommending. The president's political future also lies on this. We should not shy away from that. One false move that the president may make may derail his political aspiration. Do you concur with me on that?
Absolutely, because the thing is like, okay, I think I've always been saying this. I think Barrow needs a reality check. Him alone, in a dark room, reason with himself. 2016, 2 years down the line. Is it the same way Gambians are receiving him today like they received him when he was coming from Senegal? And if he is honest with himself, he will absolutely know that it's not the same way. Why? Because a lot of, I wouldn't call it mistakes, have happened along the way. and they just close their eyes to it in terms of people that you appoint, in terms of people that were supposed to be punished and they are not punished, in terms of, like he said, currently, not long ago, they arrested almost 37 young people for riots. To me, I think the magnitude of the crimes that the Janneh Commission revealed is way more than what actually those young people did. Because probably the property they destroyed would not value, if you add the both values, might not go up to $3 million. But here you're talking over $1 billion. You understand? So I think he's okay. In politics, we take risk. Probably people who surround him makes him feel like they can make him win. But I've always said this: that's not true. The people who can make him win is the citizens, and it depends how come 2021 citizens of the Gambia would react to him as a president. And some of the decisions that they are making now is not building confidence of the people. And to tell you the truth, because what happened to Sabali or Asatunjai Sedi, let's forget about politics, could happen to me or could happen to a family member of mine. You understand? Because if I commit a crime and Frederick does the same thing, so because Frederick is close to you or you are in the same boat, he can go scot-free and then I can go to jail? Is that the kind of Gambia that we want? Absolutely not. Because the Gambia that we expected 2016 was a Gambia that will treat every citizen equal under the law. You understand? A crime for me is just a crime. It doesn't matter who committed it. And if the punishment that is supposed to be vetted on the person is recommended by the commission, I think the best thing that they could have done, the least Gambians expected, not only, at least because I know some of these monies can never be recovered, to tell you the truth. Because it takes a process. We have seen what happened in Nigeria. Up to today, they are trying to recover some of Abacha's money, but they cannot. But at least showing Gambians that we are serious, we mean business, we are ready to find corruption, not only Gambians, but even your development partners. Because to tell you the truth, if I am a minister, and I was indicted by the commission for money laundering or for corruption, and then nothing comes out of it, I walk into a donor conference or I walk to meet a development partner, and nowadays once you hand over your business card, the first thing they do, they Google your name. And if they Google my name and all these bad reports are coming of me, what kind of confidence are you giving out to those people? And they talk about the NDP not coming, but probably, I'm not saying it's 100%, but it has contributed towards that. Because a lot of these people giving you these monies, nobody puts in their money in a place that they don't have confidence in. You understand? So for me, I think he's taking a risk. Whether it will backfire or not, it's yet to be gauged, because in politics things can change even in the final minute. But I think he needs to be more focused. He needs to listen to what Gambian wants. I think that those are the most important thing. And if he does well, Gambians will vote for him, because there are a lot of things that people want. If it happens, I'm going to vote for him. You will vote for him. Another person will vote for him. But if it doesn't happen, no matter what, how many politicians he has around him, I'm not going to vote for him. And those people cannot force me to vote for anybody that I'm not convinced with. And I think that is the vision that he needs to have. Let me just do my work, and then at the end of the day, Gambians will judge me, but not the politicians who sit around you or people who are close to you and tells you, okay, you go to Birkama, everybody is you go to this place, because if you read Abdul Diouf's book, he said when he left presidency, that is when he began to understand real life, daily lives and struggles of this ordinary Senegalese. Because a lot of the times the newspapers that comes to him were summarized. They didn't give him printed copies, but they will summarize everything and then give it to him for him to read. But those people will put things that will put smile to your face, because they are trying to save their jobs. They will never tell you something that is going to make you angry, because when that happens, they think is the next thing I'm going to lose my job. So and I cannot lose my job because of what it comes along with. So for me, I think he's taking a political gamble. Whether it will backfire or not, it's yet to be known. Let's sit down and watch. Maybe 2 years down the line, there's still time.
If the trend continues,
do you subscribe to that?
Yeah, if the trend continues, it will backfire. That it is certain.
So if we, gentlemen, if we were going to tell President Barrow something regarding the outcome of this report, what were we going to tell him to do?
Number one, make sure that's one of the weakness I have detected from the white paper. Number one, make sure that from here you prepare a legislative framework for reforms that will show to Gambians, but that will show equally to our partners that we are definitely ready to fight corruption. That's number one. Number two, make sure that those found wanting are properly dealt with. You don't send other people scot-free and to cherry pick on who to punish or whatsoever based on what suits you. So it should not be like that. And then the number three, engage Gambians in discussions about what type of how transparent they want you. Probably he knows, but get back to Gambians and talk to them, discuss with everybody, and engage your government into that is every department, every ministry, to ensure that everything goes transparent. Encourage people to submit, to be accountable and submit reports. One thing about Gambians, we are good at drawing policies, mapping policies, shaping them, conceiving them, developing them, implementing. But when it comes to monitoring, evaluation, reporting, never.
We are one.
That's our problem.
That's
our big problem. And if we don't report, we have a problem. That's the other thing. The other one, the last one, that is to me is very important. You can't surround yourself with certified thieves and state looters. We all know them. You accommodate yourself with them, and at the end of the day, you become compromised. That's the trap Barrow got himself into. And Gambians are not stupid. Gambians are very smart. Gambia became a case for political science all around the world. Gambians were silently in this country, people thinking that they were afraid, people thinking that they don't know what to do, that they will go and vote for Yahya Jammeh because if they don't, he would use the cane. Silently, they went to the polling stations and they defeated him. Barrow should recall that moment. Barrow should start thinking, if the Saturday's gathering that he have every time under that green tent in State House, where he would boast about him alone beating the lion, where people will tell him you are the great one, is this really what Gambians are expecting him for? Come with policies that will address the concerns of the youth. That's what people want. Be transparent. Encourage Gambian civil servants to work. You go to an office, people are angry. You talk to everybody. At the end, you want something, everybody would ask you to give him something. And so the biggest scale of corruption is what we have in this report. But there is also corruption elsewhere. So that's what Barrow, and a national commission against corruption. All countries that are serious about combating corruption have actually set up either a commission against corruption, scheme to fight money laundering. They have always offices like that, and departments are organized. In every ministry, for example, before people award a contract, in Senegal, for example, there is what they call Direction Centrale des Marchés. So that's like our major tender board. Malik, you'll be surprised that in our country today, we don't have it. It has been dissolved. So if you want to award a contract that is Yamane, I love you, I like you, I give you the contract. In every ministry, for example,
I will pay finance.
Good. You see, every ministry, you should have a small, board that would decide about a tender board, and then you have it at the biggest scale at the national level. That's it.
Malik, true to say, the amount of money that some of these people will be asked to pay, that money doesn't exist in their coffers. So what? They'll pay till they die, and the children will come and pay till they die, and the next generation comes and pay.
I don't think, like I said from the beginning, some of these monies can never be returned.
No, it's not possible.
It's not possible because a lot of these monies have already been used, or they've been diverted and invested on something else, and not probably on the names of some of these people that are indicted. They may be put in family names, they may be put in friends' names, or they may even buy shares in other companies using other people. We know all these things happen because the thing is, in Gambia, even the first thing that I always ask, do we even have a forensic accountant? Because these are the people that will go and look for some of these monies. You understand? Okay, is government ready to hire a forensic accountant to go and follow these monies? And a lawyer? it takes time. So sometimes you look at the process, how much you're gonna spend to recover some of these monies. Does it worth it? It's another question. So that's a question that the government needs to answer. But like he said, I totally agree with him. You know, to show that they are serious about the whole thing. Okay, for example, you look at institutions like GT Bank, Trust Bank. You understand? They cannot say they didn't know these monies were stolen funds. They were. And they were benefiting from it. So for me, I don't see no reason why you are recommending that the income that they generated from those monies be paid. If it was other countries or a government that was really serious, I would forfeit these banks to the state. Because they help in damaging the economy. You understand? They help in laundering funds outside our economy that were meant for national development, for individual use. So it's not that they didn't know. They know, but they know they were benefiting from it. You do this in America, the kind of fines that you receive will end up closing the bank. You understand? So I think, like he said, they need to demonstrate more seriousness and more pragmatic actions to prove not only to Gambians, because Gambians are one quarter, but the most fundamental thing is your development partners, because we all know Gambia's budgetary support and all these other stuffs helps the country. And some of these agencies, if they are not definitely convinced that when they pump in money, it will trickle down to the ordinary Gambians, probably they might not do it. And cherry picking on that Janneh Commission, for me, is sending a signal that we are fighting corruption is just a slogan that is said by mouth, but in terms of actions is zero. And also, like he said, it's going to encourage other people to continue with the trend, knowing fully well that, yeah, if I am close to... And also what this will do is, I think where Barrow tied himself was appointing people that were already called into the commission. Even though I'm not saying like they cannot work in government, because they are Gambians. If they are qualified and he thinks they can work, they should be able to work. But when they were invited by the commission, even if he had the intention of appointing them, he should have waited until the commission finishes its work. If they are given a clean bill, then you can appoint them. Some of the people that were in the system, once they were mentioned at the commission and called, they should have been given indefinite leave, probably with minimum pay. And then once the commission is concluded, and then give recommendation, based on those recommendations, that some of these people can be called back to their jobs, or they can be given the marching orders. But once you cannot, for example, in the case of Mamure, you already made him a minister. It will be very odd, you know, to sack him, because he's accused of corruption. Probably he's working on projects that he has already started negotiating with development partners. These are all things probably the government is looking at, but they wouldn't come out to tell Gambians that, even though they know, yes, we know he did what is wrong. Because if he didn't do anything wrong, I see no reason why they should give him a warning. A warning. And what kind of warning would it be? Would it be made public for people to understand that, okay, this and this and this is the recommendation of the commission, but we are giving him one because of X, Y, Z? That for me is not clearly spelled out in their white paper. Like he said, the explanation they gave for Alaji Sisa, I think, is more deep and is more lengthy and complex than the other people. So I think he tied himself up when he appointed these people, knowing fully well that they are already being called, questioned by the Janneh Commission. I think he should have waited, and probably that played a part in their decision.
Surprisingly, there are some people who are indicted by this report that are still doing business with government.
We've seen the case of Tariq Musa, whose diplomatic passport leaked recently.
The likes of Fadi Megazi, they've been banned for 5 years to procure procurement service with government. Okay, are we going to see that all these business people that have been doing business with government will cease doing business with government for the next 5 years?
That's what the white paper was supposed normally to state clearly, to say from the recommendations we got from the commission, we are coming to engage the National Assembly into a bill, anti-corruption bill, that would say, that would to address the issue of people indicted and who might want to procure or people who want to do business with or who have already companies and whatsoever. I think the white paper should have hinted about that. The report gave directions, it gave recommendations. What we heard from the government is that this guy, the commission said this, we will do this. The other one, we will not. And it stops there. So the white paper should have hinted about the government's clear intention on curbing and not giving any room for anybody found wanting to do business with the government or to do business with any Gambian entity that that is of common interest to the whole nation. That's it.
So we should agree. You want to differ or?
No, for me, I don't think those companies needs to be shut down. I don't agree to that, because the reason why I don't agree to that is on two fronts. One, they employ Gambians, and if the company is shut down, these people will be out of job. And is government in the position to create other job opportunities for these people? The answer is no, because already we have so many young people out there who are looking for job and they are not employed. So two, government generates revenue by taxing these businesses. So if they are shut down, automatically that revenue goes off.
It reads somewhere the government accepts the commission's recommendations that the companies jointly owned by Megazi and Bazi be permanently banned, and they are hereby permanently banned from participating in any government procurement. It also goes further to say that Fadi Megazi is banned in participating in any government procurement for 5 years. These people employ Gambians.
I think what government needed to do was to be more firm. They could have easily forfeit these businesses to the state, because these people benefited over the years
with their accounts. Do the accounts they hold in the bank?
Duly benefit.
Yeah, they benefited, and probably 80% of these funds are no more in the country already. You understand? Some of these, a greater part of these monies are already outside. So probably they have invested it somewhere else. So even banning them will not have a direct impact on them, probably. You understand?
But
so
the people that they work for.
Yeah, but the people that work for these companies probably would suffer, because a lot of them will go out of work, out of employment. So what government, for me, if I was sitting down there, the recommendation I would have made was for government to forfeit these companies to the state and put them under state management. And then the people who are working there will still continue working. The companies will be paying tax. And probably even if they cannot recover the monies that these people have went away with, over the years, the tax that they will recover from these companies probably could close some of the gaps in terms of recovery and all that stuff. But when you shut down these businesses, you might end up not being able to recover the monies that you ask them to pay back, and also you are putting some other Gambians out of employment, and also you are stopping government from generating revenue.
I think here the government is in a dilemma, because they forfeited some of them temporarily, and managed some of them, the likes of Kanilai Farm and whatsoever,
Sindola,
and so on. Yes. But it's difficult, because those companies you're talking about, some of them are completely bankrupt after the investigation began. Would the government use our taxpayers' money to make those companies survive when actually they were revitalized? When already they ripped us from. That's where the criminal aspect of this investigation comes. Those people morally in charge of those companies should be held accountable and be punished. That is physical punishment. They should go to jail for that.
But are some of these people even still in the country?
Some of them have vanished, and this is again the government. That's the loophole they left when they began an investigation like this. A commission.
All passports must have been held.
Obviously.
But some of these people do not have one passport.
Like Malik said, you don't pick them in the public service. They stand aside and wait the end of the investigation before you give them any job. What do you call it? You stop them from traveling and whatsoever. It's not a bad deal. Say, okay, we are looking into you, and if you come clean, no problem. Life goes on. So these are all aspects that this government, it was an opportunity the government missed, and it's regrettable.
Gentlemen, the president will address the state on Thursday. He'll make his state of the what do I call it? State of India. National, the state of the nation address on Thursday, and are we anticipating that he will touch on this, and try to see where he's leading.
I hope he does. If he doesn't, that will be another missed opportunity.
Yes, it will certainly be.
If I am Adama Barrow on that day, I will tell Gambians, look, Gambians believe in certain ideals: freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of expression, democracy, transparency, the rule of law, respect for human rights. That's what guided the whole Gambians to elect me in 2016, and we did it in tandem in that coalition. It is no more the case. Some people are saying I should leave because that's my word. I should honor my word. I said it. I should go by it. But maybe we are not ready. This commission is here. It has done. The TRRC is coming. The CRC is coming. I would like us to sit together as Gambians. Gambians, that's what we used to do. We have bantabas. We have always informal channels of communication and exchange. I would call on that day. I would say, look, it is time for us to come into a dialogue because the country is not far from a crisis. Everybody is angry. It's true that it's democracy at work, but everybody is angry. People are disagreeing on a lot of things. Let's discuss and see the remaining two years that are coming. What are we going to put together so that it becomes again a national agenda? And I will go by it. And come 2021, we go into an election. That's to me. I would say my Secretary General would write and ask every political party to send two leaders: civil society, the church, the Muslim, how to call it, the Supreme Islamic Council, National Youth Council. It should be a national. We need dialogue. Please, we need dialogue, definitely.
Yeah, I will totally agree with him, and I think he needs to learn a lot from Abdou Diouf. One of the skills of Abdou Diouf was being able to, when the tension was so high, one, use religious leaders, but also two, he would always bring in the opposition, because the truth is, both of them, both those in government and those in opposition, they have one agenda, and that is to move the country forward. Probably the way they're going to do it might be different, you understand? But both of them, I think, have the interest of the country. And I think, like he said, if I was him, or if I was going to write his speech, I'll make sure national reconciliation and dialogue features more on the speech, and not about what, and that's my problem with a lot of these politicians. What you already did is already done. People know about it. So what I expect is for him to tell us in future, what are the future plans for the remaining 2 years? But most importantly, how is he going to bring Gambians and unify us together? How is he going to reconcile us? Because whether we accept it or not, there is too much division within ourselves, because the issue of the TRRC has divided a lot of people, especially the release of the junglers, divided opinions, and that's a reality, But it's not the actions that you take, but how you sell it to people is what will bring down the tension. And I think for now, he needs to organize a national dialogue in which all political parties will be present: youths, civil society, the church, the Gambia Supreme Islamic Council, everybody, the farmers, everybody. And then we sit down together under one platform and then talk about the Gambia we want. Because the reality is, Gambia decided, but New Gambia is still not a reality.
It's not following.
Understand? And every day it's more of a lost cause than it becoming a reality. So what are the causes? You have people in the system probably who thinks Barrow should not be there, and you have people also who think like Barrow should be there. Because for me, if I was him, I was gonna go by, the agreement that they have. But we all know now that is not possible anymore. Okay, it's not possible anymore, but there's division within the coalition. Can they come together and sit down like they did before, and put the agenda of Gambia ahead of their own political ambitions, and then come 2021, they can all go out there on the fields and then fight it out. Whoever Gambians trust, they will vote for you.
All right. Do we see this talk about national reconciliation, national debate, or let's say a national consensus building to see Gambia move forward anytime soon, or will it be post 2nd December?
It should be now. Now, when people will agree about what should election look like in this country? What should electoral role look like? A national anti-corruption commission, the fate of these junglers, because you should discuss with these victims. If these victims have their relatives killed and then the murderers go scot-free in the name of reconciliation, I used to say always that what we have in the Gambia is different from South Africa and whatsoever. In those countries you have two sets of people who are fighting each other. ANC might be a revolutionary movement, but they were using also equally clandestine means with terrorist movement, terrorist groups and so on. So you have people who killed, others who killed. In the Gambia here, in Sierra Leone, the same thing. In the Gambia, we didn't have that. We have people who were entrusted with the legitimized use of force to secure the Gambian citizens and who use that against citizens. So citizens were victims. If you want to foster and build reconciliation, you care also about justice. But if you say, okay, go scot-free in the name of reconciliation, there's a problem. So all the content and the articulation around all those concepts should be discussed in those debates. You shouldn't wait for December 3rd, because from here against December, who knows? Who knows what other mistakes they will do that can entrench the anger that we have from within a lot of other Gambians. The dialogue is now.
The dialogue is now. Malik, do you also subscribe to the dialogue is now or post 2nd December?
No, for me, I think when they came into power, they should have organized a national dialogue conference. You know, because the truth.
Well, that opportunity has been missed long time ago.
No, they missed a lot of opportunities. Even the donor conference that was done in Belgium. For me, a few days ago, I wrote and I said the reason why probably part of the reasons why the funds are not coming like it's was promised is because it was done 2 years late. Because they should have done that earlier. Because then at that particular point in time, there was a lot of goodwill towards Gambia. You know, and probably those people who were going to make plans would have given these funds immediately. You understand? But it was late, and then after the conference, they came back. There was already disintegration within the coalition, but it started to manifest itself. You know, so for me, I think he needs to call for a national dialogue conference, even if it is going to happen at the Independence Stadium. Let it be. You know, invite the religious leaders. Invite all these political leaders, and all of them will stand on one platform and take a pledge that to put Gambia's interests first from here towards 2021, and then let them have a consensus that, you know, come December, election cannot happen, and that's the reality. And going forward, I think he needs to also to be communicating more regularly with the citizenry and give more clearer explanations of some of the decisions that they are making. Probably me, you, and others would not understand, but they who sat down in cabinet and make some of these decisions, especially with regards to the Janneh Commission, a lot of people are seeing it as a wheat hunt towards some, and you know, keeping others who are close to me to get scot-free. So, and for me, I don't think that makes any difference between what used to be and what is happening now. If they say justice, let them serve justice. Or you consult Gambians, and if Gambians agree that leave Mr. X, if majority of Gambians say drop charges against Mr. XYZ, that can be done. And to conclude, with regards to the release of the junglers, I think reconciliation should happen. National reconciliation should happen, but national reconciliation should not happen
at the expense of
people who have suffered. I think what they should have done was, before even they announced the release of the junglers, they should have made sure they had an agreement with the victims' families and some of the victims, and you know, probably sit down with them, negotiate, explain to them the reasons why, you know, it doesn't also guarantee that these people are going scot-free, but in subsequent times, if the need be, they will be prosecuted. But for now, to help us get more information is the reason why we are doing this. And probably those people would have understood. But you know, just going outside and, you know, making the statement probably is what angered some of these people. And I don't think time is lost. If they have a national dialogue, I think all these things can be put in one box, and we all sit down together as a family, like he said, and talk about these issues. And I believe we can always have solutions, because Gambia gains its independence through negotiation. And I think whatever happens, we can always sit down and talk as a family and come to a conclusion.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Frederick Tandeng, BBC Africa, correspondent. Pleasure to have you on this very sensitive issue. It's not over. We'll be seeing more and more on this very sensitive topic.
Inshallah.
Dabak Malik, my friend, my columnist, and of course as concerned citizen, it's been a pleasure to talk on this very sensitive issue. We've been having an overview discussion on the just released recommendations of the Janneh Commission report. We hope that we'll be back next week as more news will unfold on the issue. For me, Malik Jones, bye-bye.